Hi again, everyone. I'm olliemathews. This is Societal Narcissism. And this video is sponsored by contribution from Amy. And Amy gave me just a general donation, which I am going to use to review this video. Now, this is something I've watched already. I actually have two of these to review. I have this feminism panel, and then there's an Asian panel that is just fascinating, and they're just perfect encapsulations of the younger generations, how society has just been gaslighted and brainwashed and has just created this entitlement and these belief systems that are just they're new religions. It's a new religion. I mean, that's what wokeism, communism, Marxism, whatever you want to boil it down to, comes down to. It's their religion, a religion with no God. God is the government. But this is a fascinating panel, and I usually don't watch Vice, but these panels are really good, and this was the first one I watched. And I watched it because two people that I knew were on it. This redhead in front of you, that she runs a channel, just Pearly Things. Her name is Pearl. She's an American. She lives in the UK though. Does a podcast against feminism, and it's not bad. I like it. I've watched a lot of her stuff. It's pretty interesting. She runs it right out of her apartment, and she has like a whole sets up her living room like a studio. It's really cool. It is. And the other girl on here is a conservative commentator, Sydney Watson, and she had been a subscriber of mine years ago before she blew up. So I never actually communicated with her, but she had been a follower of my channel, so I had subscribed to her, and then I watched her just explode. So good for her. She's going through some stuff now. I think she's suing like The Blaze for harassment, something like that. So on with this video. So it's 43 minutes. It's going to be a long one. Obviously, you know how long it is if you're already clicking on it because it's already done. But this is fascinating. Now, this is Pearl, and over here is somebody named Eli Elric. This person is trans. I don't know if they're pre or post. I think they're post-op trans, but this person is infamous right now on Twitter for contacting minors and sending gender transforming drugs, the puberty blockers or whatever, to underage minors, or all minors, to minors without their parents' knowledge or consent. How this person is obtaining these prescription drugs, I don't know, but this person flaunts it on Twitter. So that's who that is. And on with the show. Let's get right into it.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
we
stopping
have no
you? You
barriers.
can do whatever you want.
I can
you?
Or you can?
What's stopping you?
See, so Pearl and Sydney are definitely the alpha conservatives. The one woman's in a wheelchair. They're going to tell you who everybody is, so I'll shut up.
Should we mark this bad boy at all? Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody.
I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity.
Notice the transsexual is the first to speak on feminism. I mean, that right off the bat. First open question about feminism. Who is the first person to jump in? The person who used to be a male and now identifies as a female is going to make the opening salvo on feminism. This is an extension of the transsexuals in sports and women's sporting events. Caitlyn Jenner being named Woman of the Year. Like, what does it even mean to? That's why Matt Walsh did that document. What is a woman? What is a woman?
I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away.
Equity isn't real. You're never going to get equity. Whenever you try to achieve equity, what you get is genocide. That's what happens. It's unachievable.
Feminism is alive and well.
Because the only equity you could get is to bring everybody down to rock bottom, which is what they actually want.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us.
Yep.
I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well.
Yep, and she's right. Because you don't see women fighting and protesting to work in the sewers. You don't see them fighting and protesting, to do waste management. You don't. No, they'll fight and protest to do the corporate jobs, the fun jobs, the big jobs. But they don't. They don't want equality. They don't. They want forced superiority. That's what feminism is.
So, there are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movement. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
It's definitely a superiority movement. This is what I said, that they want forced superiority through government. That's what it is. Superiority over who? Over men, yes, but that's not really what it's usually about. It's usually over that pretty bitch. Because that's what feminism started as. To give unattractive women access to the mainstream society. I.e. Rush Limbaugh's rule number 35. Not mine. That's what Rush says.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism.
Oh, this one is the worst. She is one of the worst. New York liberal.
And there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying.
Yeah, but white women did start it. And they know that, and that's why she says it. It's guilt. It's guilt. She knows. It's like deep down, they know that they're being marionetted by these liberal white women. They know it. Right to America sucks. Right to America sucks.
For their rights. I think as a black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's conservative, this one talking now as well. I remember there is one black female conservative on this panel. I think she's it.
The mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
Yep, she gets it.
Feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on.
Now, this lady has no legs. She was born disabled, obviously, and you know she's come in. We'll just listen to her because I'm gonna have a lot to say about her later.
Is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a black woman and being a black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity.
She's talking about herself, equity. See, like, there's an anger here, and I understand it if you were born like that. There's an anger here that, you know, for being born that way, that you want to strike out now against society. I mean, that's why a lot of supervillains in comic books had disabilities. That's what drove that's what drove them. And I'm not saying all disabled people are supervillains. No, but a lot of them have this chip and this anger for being disabled that now they're looking to lash out at any way they can. And you'll see it further as this wears on.
And that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
That's exactly, and there it was. There was the pretty bitch. And that's what it's about. Pretty bitch. Pretty bitch. That's what it's about. But she handled it perfectly. Oh, you think I'm pretty? Let's redo that.
Disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're...
She's talking about herself. You know, I feel bad for her. I do. But, like, she is a very, 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 very minute portion of the population.
Able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
you
I
can use
think
it as
there's a
an
lot
advantage.
of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an
And she knows what she's talking. The disabled one knows what she's talking about, but she doesn't have those. She don't have that advantage. So she's angry about it. So she's trying to bring everybody down to her level. And in my opinion, I think if she could cut everybody's legs off and put them in a chair like her, she would.
excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying.
Pretty
and
privilege. Now it's and white. Pretty privilege, and it's just like, and you're white. You're white. You're white too. So why is she throwing this out? You see these? You're white. Stop throwing it. But I'm disabled. But you're white. So you don't get to use whatever you feel like now because now you have a disabled. So now I could throw everything. Like, you're white. What are you talking about? I'm sorry you're in a chair. I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry. But the whole world can't cater to your every want and need because you're disadvantaged in a chair. It sucks and it's unfair. It's an unfair world, and that's the way it has to be.
And you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, but it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women.
You notice the lectures. Lectures at the ones who were biologically female are lectures at them. This person, look at the look on this person. They're just so smug and arrogant. Like, this is what they're doing to you, lady. This is what's happening. They're trying to replace women.
And because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah.
Yeah.
We have no You can do whatever you want.
I can or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
As a woman.
As a woman.
That ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So.
But it has nothing to do with you being a woman. It has to do with your disability. You're just glomming on. She's just glomming on because they're the loudest and most vocal. Her disadvantages have nothing to do with being a woman. Got a whole panel of other liberals there. What are your disadvantages? What can't you do because you're a woman? They got no answer. Oh, well, I'm disabled, but that has nothing to do with you being a woman. It has to do with you being disabled.
So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I said before, I'm speaking about women. You're
speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an able-bodied.
No, she's speaking for herself. You're all able-bodied. All of you. They're all able-bodied women. She is a very small portion of the population. Now, everybody has to conform. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other people now in this have to conform to one. Does that sound like a good ratio? An 8 to 1?
White woman.
I understand.
Represents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're just going to ignore
white
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over body.
Pay gap isn't real.
Pay gap doesn't
Endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
Endlessly.
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs.
Look who's doing all the speaking. Look who's doing all the talking. The person that was born a biological male. Look who's doing all the lecturing and the speaking. But feminism, right? But the patriarchy, right? It's unbelievable, and they'll sit there and just keep going, and they don't see it because it's not about the issue. It's about the power. Just simple questions. Where are you disadvantaged? The pay gap. The pay gap has been disproven over and over and over again. It's not real. Both Pearl and Sydney are right here. The pay gap isn't real. They want special privileges. And women structure their lives differently than men.
Jobs, which is societal sexism, and then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the U.S., have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask?
Why are they not? Wait, what happens when women ask?
Exactly. You don't ask for the raise, and now it's like, well, what happens when you don't know because you don't ask.
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in,
but
go through the wall.
It is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice?
Know who's not a part of any of these conversations? Their fathers. You don't hear any of them mention their relationship with their fathers. Because a lot of them, I think the fathers weren't around. Now, she said parents, both her parents were there. But that's who you're not hearing about.
Choice, right, and having choice, and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And
to everybody. Those are the issues everybody is facing. It's not a woman-specific thing, but what they're really talking about here with healthcare, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about the holy sacrament of abortion. That's what they're talking about. Worrying about being able to get rid of babies they don't even have yet. And most of them are not worried about that. They're angry. They're angry they're angry and they're lonely. And they're doubling down on this ideology because they're still young enough to kind of get away with it. Until they're not. And boy, howdy do they get angry then.
And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Exactly.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color?
It's like every time there's got to be another qualifier. As a woman or a woman of color? As a woman or as a disabled woman? It has nothing to do with being a woman. It has nothing to do with being a woman, because if it did, there wouldn't need to be these qualifiers on every time Pearl asks them, what are you talking about? What are you obstructed from doing? Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Oh, well, even as a woman of color, what are you obstructed from doing? I get the disabled one is going to be obstructed from doing things because she's disabled. She doesn't have legs. What are you disabled from doing?
As a woman, I said
And we
as
don't.
a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
'cause I'm
just feel
not
like
a
your
woman.
question is
Well,
like,
then what are
like,
you doing there? If you can't answer, you're on a panel about feminism and I can't answer what I'm obstructed from doing as a woman. The simplest of pushback and questions. That's why they don't want debate. That's why they really don't want debate. That's why they want to censor and ban and shadow ban and do it, because they can't, their arguments don't stand up to the simplest of questions.
When you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing.
But she said, but she's asking you, then what are your barriers? What are you complaining about right now? They don't know. They don't know because they're not happy. They're not happy women because they're buying this canard of feminism. It's against biology. I'm sorry, it just is. It just is.
And I feel like it's
I think
like
as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
I'm not ignoring that.
We're at like a
so-
basic level of what, I mean, the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean
Not all of you.
than men. So there are
Not all of you. Not this one's just I guess a very petite man, and I think I think I remember because I watched this like a month ago. I think this one behind her might also be transsexual. I think that might be.
issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men
she's more conservative.
Born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
Yeah, she's right. She's right. Women should be, and they can. They just don't. Because they listen to these feminists about how dangerous guns are and this, that, and the other thing. And like, no, and now she's talking about being born a man. And we're hearing there's no difference between men and women. And this is within feminists, and she considers herself a feminist.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%. So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality. But
again, the person that was born a biological male is going to tell you what equity is.
What does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being woman. This doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society.
It means this person is just spouting words. They're just spouting words like that, just they're buzzwords. They don't actually mean anything. Equality, equity, like what are you talking about? Even the expert doesn't know.
Not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
Those exactly. Which barriers? Those barriers, like. At least that person argues like a woman. I'll say that.
What does it do for you to have a bunch of ramps in your life? It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
my
race.
question is,
you guys can talk.
Women versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my
right. What does your ramp have to do with feminism and men? Being that it's probably going to be a man who creates, who designed, created, builds, and installs all your ramps. It's probably a man who designed, built, engineered, delivered your wheelchair. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Without men, the disabled one, who knows, should be dragging herself around? Maybe. Man, what are we talking about?
Statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
So what barrier? I just want to.
The question is silly.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying,
not a fair question. It's
how is it not a fair question?
It's not a fair question because we can't answer it. It's not a fair question because it blows up our whole narrative. That's why. None of them can explain, other than the black conservative up front. Yeah, there's physical differences. There's dangers from men to women that we should be able to that. Okay, we can go down that road and see how prevalent, male on female violence really is. Other than that, this whole thing is supposed to be about feminism and the patriarchy. Like, what are you aggrieved of as a woman? And they still can't tell you. They can't name one barrier. Nothing.
And I'm proving the point of what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal, based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive.
No.
More times than not, it's not.
What she's saying is the liberal white women run feminism. And they want you all at the same point, marching in lockstep, and that's just not how women are. It isn't going to happen. See, she wants to be like a traditional feminist where, women have rights. Fine. Yeah, go for it. Carry a gun. Do whatever. As long as you can keep up to the standards of man, no worries. Go. But she doesn't want to get cornered into like traditional feminism because she knows who runs traditional feminism. She knows who's pushing all these agendas.
So, and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one.
She's just angry. She's angry at anybody who's not disabled. She's angry. She wants it all to be about her and her disability. And it sucks. It sucks. But again, this is how, like in comic books, this is how supervillains are, because they're angry and they need to lash out and they need to control something.
Subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. At least she acknowledges men built the world.
I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies. Right. I
There
think
we
that men
go.
are
Here's
not
the
well
liberal.
adjusted in the society, and women are not trying to re-embody what they have.
Right. That's what you just want to be lectured at. Like, men are not. How dare you? How dare you? Where would you be without men? Where would you be without men?
fulfilled for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting.
Wait, oh my, see, yeah. It's conservative now. I don't understand, explain it to me. To no, I don't understand, and I'll just respect it. Like, needing an explanation is somehow bad, and wanting to understand it. Want to know why it's bad? Because they can't explain it. It's just what I want because it benefits me personally. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's forced superiority. It's forced superiority. You got to listen to what they say, and they don't have to explain it. And if you ask me to explain it, it's just you being intolerant because you want to understand and you're not diverse enough. It's insane. A woman like, I hope she doesn't work, because imagine what some of these women must be like to not even date. Imagine what they're like in the workplace. Imagine what their entitlement must be like, that they don't have to explain something that doesn't make sense because I fit into this kind of category, so you just got to accept it and I don't have to explain it to you.
Starting point, I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's
But
never
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you've projected this like capitalist ideology on everyone.
Oh, she's such a victim. She's like anybody who tries to speak out that you're not. See how she goes after her because she's a minority. And she's stepping off the plantation. I don't even know. I think this girl might actually be like white. Like, it's exactly what you would expect from a New York liberal. And this is what happens when somebody who fits into their category, who's not white, doesn't fall toe in line. Capitalist this, capitalist that. Like, sweetheart, everything, your hair, your nails, your makeup, your outfit, you don't mind capitalism then. They don't mind capitalism when it benefits her. And it does benefit her beyond that, because she doesn't complain about it. No, you're all victims. You can only be victims, and that's it. You're victims of the man. Don't ask me to explain how. Don't ask me, because then you're being intolerant.
achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism, feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great, this is about feminism, it's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine, but this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized.
Yeah,
but
that's all this is.
To listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition.
It is, yeah. I think this one was born. Yeah, this one was born a man too. So there's two transsexuals on here. It's like I gotta listen. Like you gotta hear that again. Because they go silent. They don't know what to say.
We have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism, feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that...
Exactly. Here it is. It's with the disabled and as a woman or as a black, like, we're supposed to be talking about women and feminism, and all we're talking about is our personal grievances.
factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized.
Exactly. She knows. She knows who's the most victimized. Who's where on the victim scale. That's all that matters. Pearl's loving this, by the way.
But this is annoying to listen
like,
to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get.
It is annoying. It's annoying to listen to this here. It's annoying to listen to it at work. It's annoying to listen to this if you try to date. This is why they're alone and angry. Who wants to listen to this?
Get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine, expansive people and meeting those opportunities.
Feminist, expansive. that would include transsexuals, individuals that were born men and now identify as women. At least that person doesn't say much. This one seems to be the ringleader. It's telling everybody what feminism is and what you need to be aggrieved as a woman.
I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life? Why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen
I made
in
the distinction. I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact that...
But you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing.
We're not celebrating the death. We're just celebrating that we have the option. That's insane. That's insane.
It's like that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So here's the thing: when we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion,
and they're not worried about their access. They're worried about the pretty bitch's access. They're worried about that pretty bitch they can get to. Tell them to get that abortion, because that's what it's about.
Abortion rights, right, into being pro-choice. Listen, that's your body. You do you.
The child is not your body.
As I go.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
having choice is an equalizer.
What rights do you not have? What rights do you not have other than can you not get an abortion in New York? Are abortions banned anywhere in any state? I know some states tried and they're idiots. No, all they're saying now is you have to have one before 12 weeks. That's it. That seems pretty reasonable. 12 weeks. You're never gonna get by me the late term stuff. No, there's never a reason. No. And they are passing laws in these states that you can have that you can, not that it's happening left and right, but it has happened. Look at Gosnell in Philadelphia, that you can have them right up till the moment of birth. The option is there, and don't think they're not going to be moving that down the line.
Like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms
the
of birth
policies
control.
that are pushed to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women
The patriarchy. It's the patriarchy to have a kid. It's the patriarchy. And you heard Pearl, 41 forms of birth control. 41 forms of birth control.
Like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you, it is
brainwash.
I agree with me.
Exactly. You're brainwashed minorities and brainwashed women. The New York white liberal, and I'm pretty sure this girl is white. Oh, they're so pandering. That is the white feminism she's talking about.
Brainwashed. I have lived deeply institutionalized. I have lived under Islam. Yeah, I'm not interested in any of that. Like,
oh, she's lived under Islam. Oh, so she's an ex-Islam convert, but she's still white. She's probably Persian. I've lived under Islam. I'll tell you what, this shit keeps going. Islam's what's gonna win in the end, because you keep trying to take God away from people. They're gonna find it somewhere, and they'll go find it in the one religion that you're all afraid to go after. Surprised she even spoke out. I really am.
there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living.
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because you know it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with
like
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking.
Right. It's not about, she's like, it's not about religion. It's about, I know what's going on. I could see, I can research. This isn't because Jesus told me it's wrong.
About people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die. No. Right? We're also talking about women in the hospital.
Who's dying? Who's dying because they can't get an abortion? Where is this woman? Because if there were these women who were dead, tried to get in and now are dead, they'd be plastered all over Planned Parenthood. They'd be plastered all over their advertising. It'd be everywhere.
Who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody.
A hospital, if the mother's life is in danger, the hospital, that's where the hospital will do the abortion. If the mother's life is legit in danger, they'll try to deliver the baby. They're not going up there and cutting the spinal cord, which what we're talking about in these situations.
But a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education. It's the
whose fault is that? Do they not have mothers? Do they not have mother? Like what are we talking? What does that have to do with feminism? That sounds like it's a female problem. Because if their mothers and the women in their lives aren't doing it, what you expect the government? The patriarchy? Like who's supposed to do that? That's supposed to happen in a family.
Oppressive state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be forced to have these children,
winding out,
who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to.
Women being forced to have babies. No matter what. Wait. Up until a few months ago, women abortion. I mean, nothing has changed. So it's not a real barrier because it's not happening. Nobody's being prevented from having an abortion. Nobody. So it's, again, another fake barrier. There's not a barrier. There's no barrier here. The only barrier is if at 9 months I change my mind and I want an abortion, now they won't do it. Sorry. They'll do it in some states.
Women are gonna keep getting abortions and people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're there's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Yep.
Why do you think that abortion has been...
They don't even know their own stats. They don't even know their own statistics.
So tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Yep.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Hell yeah, we do.
Instead of, you know,
Says the person who was born a biological male. Hell yeah, we do. Hell yeah, we do, ladies. Says the individual who was born a biological male. First comment, hell yeah, we do. Yeah, we're all whores. We're all whores. Oh, God damn.
taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like do whatever they want.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sounds like you said.
You say it's like it's a bad thing. Because nobody will check him. Nobody will check this person. Nobody will check this person. Nobody. This person can't get pregnant. Regardless how they identify, they can't get pregnant.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is this...
Oh, more lecture. More lecture.
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay.
Yes. There you go.
Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why is
what
that
I'm
empowering?
saying is, like, I feel like you do, like, take, like, the way you speak on women is very sort of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just wanted this. And I wonder why you have so much, like, hatred towards women.
I don't hate women.
Where does that root in? It's not
No. Who hates? Who's the hater here? Who really hates women here? Who? Which one?
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman. I
doesn't mean you don't have
I could be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for them.
So what does that
Good
say
for
to
them. Good for them, says the person in the wheelchair, unfortunately, who's not angry at anybody, not bitter about it. Good for them. Good for them. Can she have baby? I don't know. What's the likelihood? Not really. Would she probably deep down, if you asked her and got the real, gave her some truth, like there was a truth serum, she want a baby desperately. Desperately. But because she can't have one, no one else can.
That means you're using it as a form of birth control, and they don't track the 60%.
What kind of abortion?
Can you let me finish? They don't
What
track
kind of
the
abortion?
60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men, because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's a very binary version of sex.
Yes, because sex
It's
is
a binary version of sex. He's so mad. This one is just so mad that the pets are out of control. She's really mad at these two. These two just got her fucking goat, and then Pearl, obviously.
But please let me finish my point.
Oh God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating a pregnancy is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
The idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like...
She's evil. This is what she would be. If this was a comic book, she would be a supervillain. She's evil. She's evil. That's where her anger and her jealousy has led to. It's just being evil.
Fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure, and so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
Yep.
I definitely agree in that, like, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is.
It is.
I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like, if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, you know, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion access, reproductive health care?
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right? It is a barrier, right?
It's anti-woman to not be able to have an abortion. Like, it's just so disgusting. It's just so bad.
It's
If we
giving
wanna put it
more.
that
It's
way.
giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
But why would the state have
locally,
the ability
women
to tell me what to do?
Because it
Locally, the
doesn't
women.
constitute.
And that's a good point. Because abortion, Roe v. Wade, was decided by 9 white guys. Or was 8 white guys and Thurgood Marshall, or was it 9 white guys? It's either 9 white guys or 8 white guys, but it was all men. It was all men. At the federal level, 9 judges or however many judges went along with it, okay, and said, yeah, this is the law of the land now. There was no vote. No women got to vote on it. Now it's back to the state level. Every woman has a say. Every woman has a say now. I mean, how is that not more empowering to women? Can women not vote? Can women not vote in this country? I mean, I know I've talked about the 19th Amendment and all, but last time I checked, the 19th Amendment is alive and well. So what are you talking about, empowerment? This decision was given to you by men. Roe v. Wade and abortion rights were given to you by men. Well, we're empowered. No, you weren't. Because you women didn't decide on it. A couple men in robes did.
have that power.
If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates. So
At no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body. It's not about
me respecting a question here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking about.
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward, these extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me...
There wasn't a consensus. It was a Supreme Court decision. It wasn't a consensus. 5 of 9 judges said, yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's good. I think it was 5-4 or 6-3. Yeah, we're good. 5 or 6 guys. Where's the consensus?
Is that we're going to have more of these difficult conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
Trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that person is the worst.
I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what
one
a
of them.
barrier is.
There's less. It's not no.
Yeah, that is a barrier. Yes, you finally found an area. Congratulations, and you think you got her on a point. You finally found an area that should be that there's a barrier to, and it's an area that goes against your ideology. Because here's a barrier. So you're admitting this is a barrier. Having biological men or people who are born biologically male compete in female sports. Thank you. And she loves it because she can't play volleyball. She don't play volleyball or basketball. She wants to see the whole thing burn. She wants to watch it burn. She's angry.
No, it's based on the market. Okay,
hold on, guys.
Okay, so again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, like, we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's going to body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Hold on.
You're a female. You're talking about a biological male. That's what she's talking about.
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on a minute.
Have you tried confidence? And she's right. The problem with women's sports, they have opportunities. They had the Title IX thing. Okay, the problem is if it was entertaining as men's sports, people would watch it. It would make money. It doesn't, not because people hate women. It's because women's sports, all sports are a form of entertainment. And were you going to watch the best type of entertainment, or are you going to watch mediocre or bad entertainment? Sometimes sometimes women's sports could be so bad it's actually good. Not in a good way, but you get my drift. She's like, I'm a superior female athlete. There's very little spaces in this opportunity, and I have very little opportunities here. And the ones I do have are now being taken over by people that were born biologically male. Oh, that's a barrier? Yeah, that's a barrier. Congratulations, we found a barrier. Oh, you should just get over it. Well, what would happen if you came up against me? Well, you're not a male, are you? Are you? I'm a superior female to you. That's why it's female sports.
Sorry, confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches. Confidence can't make me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And
trans
I'd have to
misogyny.
go.
No, she.
Oh, it's the her experience isn't valid because they know what she's saying, because she has actual experience in this and can speak from firsthand knowledge from this. She's going to destroy their whole narrative. It don't confidence. What's confidence going to do? Confidence is never going to make me bench 400 pounds or run as fast as a man or be as strong as a man. It's never going to happen. What are we talking about?
She's not. She's a woman who's had an experience.
It's always
You guys are so obsessed with your own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
I want to give you the
Only
chance to
yeah.
so
That's the
basically-
point. That's the point. It's only to benefit them. It's only to benefit them.
A joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
bone
me.
density, wrist strength, muscle density. You can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody can tell.
Michael Phelps is built like a man, like he's a friggin' machine. No fat on him, swimming like hours and hours and hours. You don't look at him and say, wow, that's a woman. No, that's a dude. That's a dude.
Tested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
Exactly.
By the way, I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
Yeah, it's not a real study. Like, they'll just do some bullshit just so they could say it. It's nonsense. You're not getting rid of that bone density. You're not getting rid of your... You're not. There is no comparison.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be personal.
A lot of us live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating.
Oh, yep. She knows she's getting called out. She knows it. The cackle. She knows it. She knows she's getting called out. These two can't stand her. They can't stand her, and look how happy she is. Tell me this isn't about bullying. It's just awful. This one, at least, this person knows how bad it all comes. They are well aware how bad this is coming off. Like, awful. This is the catalyst of all this. This white liberal New York feminism. That's what it is. And then when you hear it, you just laugh it off. The cackle. The Hillary cackle.
Because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble, and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation
Exactly. Because we speak up, you just cackle and bitch and moan.
About transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to...
That was her point. You don't speak up. You just bitch and moan and complain. You don't really do anything. You just want to sit there and moan and groan.
To allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular.
Not happy. Because now you got a member you're supposed to be on the team saying, well, you know, I'm not really qualified. They know how strong they are. Putting themselves in the position, how would I fare against biological women? Probably hurt them. Probably dominate them. This person is you know, if she wasn't so evil, because she passed the Rubicon, I'd feel bad for her. I'd feel bad for her. But she just takes so much delight in trying to enact revenge on anybody she feels is better than her, has some sort of advantage over her.
Particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli's.
What? Oh, you've been hammering society with their opinions for 60 years now. That's why we're here. What are you talking about? You're sitting on one of the biggest websites on a Vice panel. What are you talking about?
Saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they start to move.
They just want to gloss all over that, sports and bathrooms and dressing rooms, and ignore the things that are going on in there, the assaults that are happening in there. Just want to act like we're going to move past that to something much worse.
Move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that...
Because it's a distraction. Because the trans teachers make their agenda and their classroom all about them. All you got to do is look at libs of TikTok to see that. The G word. And they want to act like it's not happening. It is happening.
Is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One.
One too many.
The only one.
Too many.
A man, a biological man who was on the male swim team, ranked 437th in the world. And now you hear the accusations that are coming out from when he was in those national champions, what that person was doing in the changing rooms in front of the girls, ogling them with his female penis out. It's such a gaslight. It's such a gaslight. And to be lectured to by this person is just...
If women too many?
If women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be...
What about the person who came in second to Leah Thomas? What about the person all the way down the list who missed out by one spot on being an All-American because of Leah Thomas? What about those women? It affected every woman who competed against Leah Thomas lost one spot because of that person. So every other woman in that meet, at least way over 16 of them, had to make a sacrifice for one. That's a what? What?
More trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation. International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
I want to
Based
move
on our
on to a different
background.
topic. I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post Me Too.
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. Because I was like, we're in post Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore.
We did it, guys. We solved the
Right?
problem.
We want that world. No, I think, obviously, the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too, for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through.
Remember, she was arguing for multiple abortions. And why is it not okay to sleep around? But me too. But me too. This is feminism.
How do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like? Right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement, that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain, people do make things up, people do lie, but it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is
That person is not sweating like, not a happy person. It's probably hot in there, but they're the only one you see with sweat pouring off them.
is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be. And you need to hit all of those fronts if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society.
And the angrier I get. And the angrier I get, and the more I'm going to push this on society. I'm not happy, you're not going to be happy either.
So, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic, because colorism is not just shades within being Black, it's shades because the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white.
And what she's realizing or hasn't realized, or maybe she doesn't want to say it, is why did she feel that way about herself? Who set up the color scale in the Black community, and not white people? It's that Queen Bee. It's that Queen Bee that did that.
White women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about, because it deals with being Black.
But it has nothing to do with being a feminist. Again, it has to do with being Black. Well, maybe it's a Black female issue, because it's Black women doing it to Black women.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of...
Again, being told I was, by who? By people in her community. By her mother, who shaped her she shaped so much of her, she wouldn't say she was a fit, but shaped so much. What do you think happened? So you're trying to yell about white people. White people didn't do this to you. Your own people did. Why? Because white people exist?
And so to say, I'm going to redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself, and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I want to wear and how I want to wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to feel myself, because if no one else is going to feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say, though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that, to me, always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful.
So it's not even necessarily that she's disabled. She's angry she got fat. It's like most women. So she is more like these women than she wants to admit.
And certain people aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to push things, they're extremely useful for marketing.
The sweat is dripping off this person's face. The sweat is dripping it's beyond beauty, it's health standards at this point.
But they don't serve anyone's health. They don't serve
Nobody else is sweating like this. Nobody.
anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body. And if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many.
That's that's projection. That's what this person thinks about themselves. That's what this person thinks about themselves. It's probably why this person is in the position that they're in. Because it's self-hatred and trying to change what this person was into this, and you got what you got here. This person identifies as female, is just dripping sweat out of every pore off her face and off their face and head. Kind of like how a biological man sweats.
Many women and men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they're not your friend or looking out for you.
Layla?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry.
There you go.
Certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that, like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think, like, some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just,
That's the way it is.
you know,
Life's
when I rate
unfair.
myself 1 to 10, like,
we're not
you
rating,
know,
it's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think, like, some people
So
are more
if you
attractive.
are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards,
Well,
is that right?
like, the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Right, but she has no legs. Like, obviously you're at a disadvantage because you can't work out, but that has nothing to do with being a woman. That has to do with you being disabled. It has nothing to do with you being a woman. You're also getting older. All women age. Like I said, the wall comes for all. It's just the reality that feminists don't want to deal with. Because none of them have men in their lives. None of them are married. And now they're wondering why they have all these problems as a woman. Well, you know what? Because you hit the wall and now you're alone. You're married with kids and raising a family, and the wall comes. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Because there's love and there's investment and there's everything else going on. And you're raising a family and you're working towards a goal. You don't worry about the beauty standards the way you were because you're not out there searching. That's what they don't understand. That's why they're unhappy. Because they're lonely and they're angry.
Your
Yeah,
standard?
but obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted.
Right, and what? Is anybody knocking down the doors for fat dudes? Where's the fat guy for, like, guys out there? You know, where do I get? Where do I get? How come me? Why not me? No, fat privilege only works for women. They don't care about men unless they decide they want to be a woman. Then they can use fat privilege. Men can't use fat privilege. What are you talking about? Is that a barrier for men?
Wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me.
Yeah, but you're not. Look, and I like this girl and all, but you're way past Kim Kardashian levels. You're way past Kim Kardashian levels. And unfortunately, growing up, you know, the fat white girls had just as much trouble as the fat black girls. Okay? It's not really, we're talking body, and it's, you can't make somebody be attracted to something they're just not attracted to. You can't.
Let's just say our different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity in a lot of black communities of the fact that when it was on black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business. Yep.
The Kim Kardashian's Armenian. She's not even really white. It wasn't about the black skin. No. Well, what about Lizzo? Like, this is like, you got Lizzo out there. It's like everybody's, what are you talking about? Well, what are you talking about now?
Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're going to try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
Of course you are.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I stand up now? Oh my God. Are we actually?
All right.
I love it.
Now we could cut it there. So, the patriarchy, man, the patriarchy. So, basically what we've come down to is they have no argument. They have no argument. They can't name what their barriers are other than biological men playing in women's sports. There's their barrier. When questioned with the simplest of questions, they fall apart. They have no answer. It isn't about feminism. It isn't about being a woman. It's about their individual grievances. So, thank you to Amy for sponsoring. Thank you to everybody for watching. How long has this been so far? An hour and a half. All right, whatever. Thank you to everyone for sponsoring if you made it to the end of the video. And if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.